Running right till dawn, way out of line. And a roller coaster ride ain't never coming down. Keep diving on too far, and trash you wreck my car. I still got motor buzz on the gas and grind. No reading time to my lane. Riding out on the sky again. From way out here it's all the same. There's no need to the miles and deep in meditation. Long live me, find a gasoline. Head up a lead, I need the speed. Spinning tires lean, down right down the beat. Long live you, what? Long live me.
Hell yeah. Hey guys, hope you guys enjoyed that track. I know I did. Long live me, fucking badass stuff. I have on the phone with me Jose Ferro. And how's it going? We were just actually talking, before I get you to let us know how you're doing, we were just talking about how we tried to hook up having an interview since like 2023. And it's finally happening now. Like, it was meant to happen. Third time's the charm for sure. But, yeah, so how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Vicky. And before we start, I have to do this because it's very important. I need to wish my very good friend, and who's been responsible for helping me get these interviews and promoting the Screaming Lord and my solo stuff overseas, and for connecting us finally, is Mark Osterwick. Today is his birthday, and I want to wish him a very happy birthday.
Heck yeah, there you go, Mark. All for you.
That's it.
Happy birthday. Yeah, he's totally nothing but a charm. He's very helpful.
He's
very,
unbelievable.
very helpful. Yeah, he's like my DJ sidekick. People are like, oh, you should do your own show because he's giving me such cool stuff to play. And I'm like, well, no, because then all the good stuff doesn't come to me no more. It's like, get out of here. leave my piece of candy giver alone. But, yeah, I'm just so excited to be able to, he says, thank you, my friend.
There you go.
And he said, cheers. Hell yeah. So what have you been up to the past couple of years? I know we were just talking off air about COVID.
You know, like I said, I got sick that one time, and it really took me out for a while and stuff. And it was pretty bad. But basically, you know, I moved to Las Vegas about 2 years ago, and I just been focusing, you know, just being in the studio, writing, mixing, you know, producing, mastering, writing some more, and keeping in touch, you know, and that's when I decided, you know, when we first were contacted with each other is when I released that solo record of Darkness and Desire with Apollo Papathonius. I can't even pronounce his name. I apologize, Apollo. I still love you. You're a great singer.
He apologizes for butchering.
And I've released that and just been working with Richard Frost over in the UK, who also plays in a band called Soldier.
Okay.
And we've been writing, for the past couple of years, because he actually, when we played Sweden Rock, he just stepped in because Kelly was busy working with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So him and I have been writing back and forth. I send him music, he sends me back vocal lines, and we're working on it. So we did that. We released Bring the Hammer Down, last year.
Hell yeah.
I have to give also kudos to Chris Collier, who is also the drummer and was the original drummer for the Screaming Lords. Chris is now a very big time producer, engineer. He's actually working with Korn right now.
Hell yeah.
He's done some stuff with them in the past. He's also, he did Mick Mars's one of the singles. He mixed that record and stuff, and he's so talented, and it's just such a blessing to have him in my life. Not only playing drums, but mixing and mastering the music that I've been putting out.
That's a lot of work.
He's so talented, But I did that, and then last year I was debating, okay, do I put out a CD of all the rest of the songs we're gonna do, or do I just, do singles? And and I just was sitting on some material, and I just wanted to wait to really see and research what's going on out in the industry.
Yeah.
And I kind of got the feeling, and even after discussing with Chris, it's just putting out some singles, and see what happens and see if things bite, so to speak. And then I just decided to do that. So I was getting all material together after I released Bring the Hammer Down. So I'm starting now, like I said, I'm getting confused all the months now. In March, I released Bring the Hammer Down. Excuse me, not Bring the Hammer Down. Crash and Burn. On April 18th, I'm going to release another Screaming Lord single, which is called Stepping Over You, which is going to feature Richard on vocals again. And then probably in May and June, I'm going to release another single. And then probably towards the end of the year, I'm going to put together probably an EP of my stuff, but I'm working on getting a full CD of new Screaming Lord material with Richard.
Nice.
I also do have, and it's funny because I just found some old tapes of the Screaming Lords playing at the Sweden Rock Festival with us doing the material live and things, and I'm like,
I love that.
I'm such a perfectionist, it's just like, oh wait, the guitar's a little too loud, oh the bass is too loud, and I'm just like, this voice in my head goes, just put it out, it's okay,
Exactly.
Have you ever met a musician who just goes, yeah, that's okay, it's fine? They're always perfectionists, and I'm
exactly. Yeah.
So I have that, and then I also found, believe it or not, I found some old demos that I did with the original singer, Patrick Dubbs, who unfortunately passed away from Agents.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about just releasing them, as demos, because there has been no other material since that Agents record.
I think you should.
I think I'm going to do it in what's the phrase we say? I'm going to pay homage to Pat, to really just for him to get that material out for him and stuff. So, but besides that, idea. I just got my Mac Studio today, so I'm all excited.
Nice.
Ready.
That's right on.
Other than that, it's just music, sleep, music, eat, sleep, music.
Yeah.
Do things, honeydews for the fiance over here, and that's it.
Yeah. It's a wonderful life.
It's pretty much. I can't complain.
Exactly, especially when you get to do what you love to do. Well, that's, right on that you kept busy during the COVID time. Sorry that you went through that. I think that I only had it once. That was right before everyone started freaking out about it. I was trying to figure out, this feels like the flu, but I'm not having all the flu symptoms, but I can't hold up my head. My head is pounding profusely. I can't sleep more than an hour at a time. Why am I feeling so sore all over, right? Like, totally icky. Like, I couldn't almost walk. My daughter had to push me into the hospital in a wheelchair. It was horrible. And that was just before everybody started, panicking and it all started coming out. I think I got like one of the first hits of it, But I never.
It's funny in 2009.
Never got it again. Never got it again.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Stephanie, who's my fiance, was living in Texas at the time, and she came to visit me in California when I was living.
Yeah.
And it was right around, in March, and I was like, I'm feeling sick. And she says, I need to go home because, I still have the dogs at the house. Well, not the house, but, boarding and stuff.
Yeah.
And she went home that day. The next day, that's when the United States was shut down with COVID.
Exactly.
Now, I didn't catch COVID then. So I got, the shots for the COVID immunization. Thank you. And
yeah.
I didn't catch it until I came out to Las Vegas. I came out in, August. And that October I caught it because we were at some friend's house giving out candy to the kids and their parents, and I didn't wear a mask.
Uh-oh.
And bang, I got it.
Damn.
And I had it for a month.
Damn. I only had it for 12 days, but that's something else, and it really kicks your butt. Like, it's crazy.
If you think about it, it kicked everything, Like the whole world just shut down.
Yeah, it got crazy for a while there. Started homeschooling the kids. It was great. They weren't getting sick anymore. It was awesome. Got to keep them at home because they're the ones that brought me the damn germs from school to begin with.
So, I've been there, done that
twice,
with my kids. But.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, aside all the COVID talk, but at least you were keeping busy was the point, and it's awesome because you put out some great music. I'm a number one fan over here. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
You're so very welcome, and I'll play your stuff all the time here, and I'll definitely get you to make me a station tag before I let you go tonight. So every time I play your music, I'll play your tag.
Absolutely. I would be honored.
I'd love that. Thank you so much. But what was I going to ask? Oh, so when did you first start getting into music, or was this something you were just born with?
It's kind of a funny story. The person that I had two cousins. Believe it or not, even though my name is Jose, I'm half German. My mom was German, and my dad is Cuban.
Okay.
So when I would go see my cousins in Germany, I had an older cousin that would always turning me on to music and playing music for me, and I was always really crazy about doing it. And then in the United States, I had another cousin who lived in Maryland who would play the guitar and everything, and he had a big band, and they had with a horn section, and they did all like old Motown stuff to
nice.
all rock stuff. It was great, and I was always influenced by that. And then I was, when I was probably about 12 years old, and there was a band down the street that said to me, I wasn't even playing yet. And they came up and they said to me, hey, we want you to come play with our band. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they said, well, we want you to come and play bass with our band. And I'm like, what's a bass? And so they said, well, just go get one, come to the band rehearsal, and we'll teach you how to play. So here I am. I go to, the closest, department store.
Yeah.
I bought a guitar. So I didn't know what a bass was. So I bought a guitar. I went to their house. They said, no, that you got a guitar, but we'll cut the two high strings off. And they said, do you have an amplifier? And I said, no, I don't, And
What's
they said,
that?
okay. So they had, Vicky, it was so funny. They had these, these old style 60s TV record player console
nice,
all
yeah.
in one.
Love those
so
things.
they plugged me into the back, and I was playing through the speaker with the band.
Oh my goodness.
And I just got hooked.
Really?
Hooked into music. And then somebody played me Led Zeppelin 2.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
And my first introduction to music, I'm starting to age myself, was Something New by the Beatles. And
oh, right.
When I heard that album, I flipped out. I was a little kid, and I always loved music. But anyway,
yeah.
Heard Led Zeppelin 2. I was starting playing bass, and I was like, oh, man, I got to see them. And they played in New York. And at the time, I was a kid. I was like 13 years old or something when I saw them. And they just came out with Led Zeppelin 3.
Wow.
And they had two shows. One was in the daytime and one was in nighttime. I went to the daytime show, and it was what I call my musical spiritual experience.
Yeah.
I was bit, and I was like, I'm doing this.
Right on.
And then about a month later, Black Sabbath played on the Paranoid tour right by my house at a hockey rink.
Oh, nice.
And it was general admission, and I got right up to the stage, and I was like probably 4 feet from Geezer Butler, the bass player of Sabbath, and I said, "Oh, this is over. I'm done. That's it."
Yeah.
And that was it. That's
I
how
can imagine.
I got into music and just started playing with bands, and just kept playing and playing and playing.
Well,
so I've been playing since I was 12, 13 years old. So I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm
Hell yeah, man. That's like such an awesome thing. It's like funny and cool at the same time.
Yeah, it was great. It's like I feel blessed, that I had gotten a talent, was given a talent that I didn't even realize that I had.
Exactly.
And then through the years develop it and play with, older people and things. And it was great because, one of the things that I've learned as a bass player, and I read this interview, and I'm going to start dating myself by a lot of the bands that I used to listen to. I read an interview. There was this New York band called Mountain, and they were really, really big. Like at the end of the '70s and during the '70s and things.
Okay.
And I read an interview with the bass player. His name was Felix Papalotti. Boy, say that twice.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said in the interview is that the most important thing that a bass player can do is to lock in with the bass drum of a drummer.
Okay.
And I was listening, and I asked the drummer I was playing with, and I said, "What does that mean?" And he says, "Listen to my bass drum and try to lock in with it while you're playing." After I did that, I got more gigs with bands than anything.
Right
I was
on.
playing, here I am, I'm like 16 years old. I'm playing in bands with guys that are in their, mid-20s, 30s-year-old, because I was able to lock in with these drummers. And they were like, "Man, this is amazing,"
Right.
And I never, ever forgot that, and that to me was something that really was a big, how could I say it, was something that really catapulted me to being better and playing with better musicians and learning even more.
Kind of something like a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
total game changer, if you
Stepped
say.
up
Yeah,
a couple levels there, eh?
absolutely,
That is
absolutely.
badass. That is awesome. That is so nice to hear. Mark over here is saying that you also play in the version on the Moonrock album.
Yes, he did remind me of that.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting story. Mark and I met from this gentleman named Tom June,
Okay.
who was a guitar player in New York City, who I knew since like the early 80s.
Right on.
Tom played in a band called Warhead. And we
Okay.
became really good friends, and we just stayed in touch. And then one day he called me up and said, "Hey, I have this singer named Schmulrick, that is going to sing. And I want you to come into the studio with us and do 4 tunes." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do it." We went in and we recorded the songs, and I heard Schmulrick. I hope I'm pronouncing his right name
I
right.
think so. Yes.
So, then I never heard anything. I went on, that was during the Agents time, and then I moved to California. Never heard anything. Nothing. Years go by, I'm going through my tapes again, and I see the cassette of the material that we did.
Yeah.
And it was called Vision.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my God, I remember this." And I said, "Wonder whatever happened with this." So I went on Facebook. So I hunted down Tom, and I found him, and started talking. And he says, "Oh my God, you don't even know. Can you help me with just maybe getting some of my music out with, my stuff and the Screaming Lords?" And he was like, "Absolutely."
Hell yeah.
And I mean, I love the guy to death. I mean, it's even funny because I offered to pay him, and he won't take no money.
No, just love the music, love to support, love to help. He's so badass, just like you.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's really funny.
It's really nice. It's really cool too.
Yeah, I can't stop bragging about that guy. He's such a good guy.
Yes, he definitely is, and it's so awesome that he let us connect. I was
Yep.
like, I was so happy. Like every time he comes into my show and he's giving me these new bands that I've never heard before, and I'm like totally excited. And most of the times, they connect with my show so well, and I can't stop playing them, and I just can't wait till he shows me something else. And when he came out and told me that you got Crash and Burn there, I was like, okay, yes, this is being played on my show.
Oh, thank you so much.
So,
Thank you so much. I really
you
appreciate the
betcha.
support.
Heck yeah.
I really, really do.
Well, that's awesome. So do you only play the bass, or do you play
No,
other
no, I
instruments?
play guitar.
Right on.
I do some drums. When I a lot of the songs that I write, I'll come up with a drum part and I'll show Chris, this is it. This is what I want. But guitar, and I play some keyboards too.
Right on.
Like on the Of Darkness and Desire record, I did everything.
Okay.
So, I can play, but bass is my main instrument.
Right
That
on.
I have to say, it's my main instrument.
Really nice. Really nice. What are you doing over here in the chat room, Mark? Oh, he's slapping down some more pieces of your candy there. Heck yeah. You're badass.
Oh man.
Right on. Thank you, Mark. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I'm just stoked that we're able to talk tonight. So where can people find you when they want to find your music?
Make another run of the Agents Stick to You Guns album.
Okay.
And I've been debating about doing a CD version of Darkness and Desire. And I don't know why. I don't know. I'm hesitant a little bit. I don't know why. I don't know. It's just me. But I think I'm going to do that too also. But as far as any kind of digital downloads, it's available on all the streaming platforms.
Right on. I'm trying to find something here that he threw in the chat of yours. I believe it's called Visions.
Yep, that was the one with Tom Jude.
Yeah, I'm trying to slap it on in here. But hell yeah, that's badass. So, yeah, like, what are you doing from this point moving forward? Like, are you still kicking out the singles?
I'm going to still do that. I'm going to put, like, some CDs together. But I'm also getting into, when I first moved to California in 1990, my family, my dad and my uncle, were in the film industry.
Okay.
My dad in New York City used to do a lot of commercials on TV, and my uncle used to do a lot of the movie titles of some really big movies, and he had gotten me, and a friend of my dad who lived in California got me to do some music for some of their films.
Okay.
And, which was really, really good. And I'm going to continue, because since that time, I have a library of music that I've done for film. And I really want to get also into doing sync licensing.
Okay.
For film, TV, and I also want to get into doing some things for gaming, because I've always had an eye for film. I can, I really watch and I concentrate and do it. And I think that's, thank my dad and my uncle for that very much,
Right on.
And I'm going to expand on that, but, I'm still going to write music and work with other musicians. That's what I want to do. I will be moving at the end of May. I'm moving to Austin, Texas.
Oh, nice. You move around a lot. That's really cool. Get to see a lot of cool sights.
I'm really looking forward to it. And, not only playing heavy rock is my things, but like I say, my influences, my early influences that I used to listen to, of course, were the heavier bands, Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and Rainbow. I'm a huge fan of those.
Oh, yeah.
But I've always am very kind of in that direction, but
Love it.
having that new
Yes.
it's still a little bluesy. You know what I'm saying? When you listen to Steppin' Over You, you'll hear it a little bit more, but it's got that influence of those particular bands, of bluesy rock bands, but it's got this heavier production to it, which gives it a little different flavor to it. So
yeah, well, it's a whole new era too, eh?
oh man, there's so many good bands out there that sometimes I just go like, oh man,
Yeah, I know. There is. Like, it's like Christmas every day. You have no idea.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. I mean, we need more of it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
Folks like you
totally
need
agree.
to never stop what you're doing. Never stop.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, unless you really have to. Then that's...
Nope.
Right on. Hell yeah. I love that. Gonna kick it out with your boots on.
Oh, hell yeah.
Heck yeah. So have you played with anybody like very influential, like within your scene? Have you ever toured before? With the bands and stuff?
I didn't do really extensive touring with any particular band because I think, it's really funny because at the time when we had agents, we wanted to go to Europe and everything like that. But there wasn't the technology of really being able to, like with the internet, contacting people, putting together a tour and stuff. It was all done by mail, and it was, if we had the technology that we have today, going back to the 80s and stuff, it would have been a different ballgame. We probably would have did that. I've been really toying with the idea of doing something again after we finish the second, I call it the second Screaming Lords record, to maybe go do something, to go play some shows, because like I said, Richard is in the UK, maybe go over there and play some shows over there and have him come to the United States and do some shows. But, but I'm being frugal, and I want to,
Scenario, like who would be a bill that you would love to be on with?
hands down,
Yeah.
AC/DC.
Oh my lord. Yeah.
AC/DC.
I just fainted and came back to life. These guys over here know it. Oh, yeah, that's my shit.
During the 80s, when I was doing agents, I used to work on a street in New York City called 48th Street. Big fan. And I used to work in a music store. And I got stories. That's another thing that I really, really want to do is write a book about my experiences with all of these people that I met.
Hell yeah, that's a great idea.
I met so many bands. I met there's so many bands that I could sit here and tell you all of these players and bass players and guitar players and musicians that I dealt with. So when I met AC/DC, I was thrilled to death.
Oh my goodness, I'm so jealous.
I met the guys from Judas Priest and everything, and I met, all the AC/DC guys and the Scorpions guys, and
nice.
You name it, all these bands, I can't even remember off the top of my head,
Hell yeah.
And I have all these great stories about, I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh yeah.
Of all these musicians that I met. That some of them were just total.
Put that section in the book, eh? The good.
Yeah,
the bad,
I was thinking about separating it into 3 chapters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
Like the people that were just the rudest, absolutely the rudest people, you know, that I had to go a lot of times to some of these guys and go, dude, your career is not that important anymore.
Exactly.
You know, there's no reason for you to be this ass.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
and it's like they would look at me and go, you know, what did you say? And I said, you heard me. You know, I got a big mouth, and, you know, I call it like it is.
Yeah,
you know, I'm from New York, and, you know, my thing is, if you're an idiot, you're an idiot. I'm going to tell you. You know what I'm saying? But I'll always be the nicest guy. I'll bend over backwards for you. You know what I'm saying?
I'll help you out.
As long as you're the same thing with me. If you're going to be somebody that's going to, you know, turn on me or backstab me or badmouth me, dude, we're done.
Heck yeah. Mark over here in the chat, that's exactly how I am too. Mark over here in the chat is saying, Jose almost played in the band White Lion back in the day.
Oh, he's bringing it back.
He's bringing it back. Yeah, he knows that I like that stuff.
You know, this is probably, I'm trying to think of the year. It's definitely in the early 80s.
Nice.
Mike Tramp came into the store that I was working with at. It was the first music store I was working on the street with the original lineup from White Lion, from Sweden, I guess. You know, here is I'm standing there in this store, and a bunch of these blonde-headed kids come in, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck is this? You know, and Mike, you know, Mike's a great guy, and I always liked him. He was very friendly. Jose, how you doing, man? You know, I mean, sorry, Mike, if you're listening. Anyway, but he, you know, he was really nice, and we stayed friends, and we kept in touch and stuff. And then he was telling me he was going to put an American band together. And he came in one day with Vito Brady, you know, and Vito was I was living in Queens, New York, which is very close to Manhattan. He was living out I think he was living in Staten Island or Brooklyn. I can't remember. And they came into the store, and, you know, we became friends, and we went out to have some drinks at this bar, and we were talking, and they were like, you know, kind of hinting a little bit.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, okay. So anyway, they called me up, and they said, hey, man, we want to come over, and we want to talk to you. And I said, yeah, sure, come on over. You know, so they come over, and they sit down, and they said, we want you to come and play with us. And I was like, okay. I said, well, so what are we doing? And he says, we're going to go to Germany, and we're going to record an album's worth of material. And I was like, okay, you know, we could do that. And I said, so how are we going to do this? How is it going to finance? Well, you know, he's like, well, and I was just newly married, and my daughter was probably about 2 years old. You know, and they're like, oh, you know, we're just gonna go in the studio. We'll live in the studio, and we have friends that will bring us food, and we'll sleep in the studio, and you know. And I'm like, okay, you know. I was like, you know, I had my financial responsibilities to my time, you know, and I was a little hesitant. And then we started talking about songwriting, and you know, as far as the business end of the music business.
Yeah.
And, you know, Mike was like, no, you would get paid this, and that's it. No songwriting, no nothing. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And I turned him down. I said,
wow.
That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I said, and like I said, I'm not coming from the point of bad-mouthing them. You know what I'm saying? It's just business. I get it. You know, him and Vito were a big majority part of the band. I get it. But when I was making more money working in the music store than what was really being offered, I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Exactly.
You know, a year later, I could roll over MTV.
I know.
And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what did I do? And I felt really, I was kind of depressed, you know?
Yeah, you're like, damn.
But you know what? It really did put a fire under my ass to do the agents thing.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, and it was really, really good, and I was like that. But, you know, like I said, I was very flattered that they offered me the gig, you know. But at the same time, after I saw them, but, you know, life goes on.
Yeah, sometimes things are meant to happen and, you know, I definitely believe it happens the way it happens for a reason, so.
I was just being, listen to me, you know, I was being realistic. There was no way that I was going to leave,
Yeah, you
my
had a family,
wife
exactly.
at the time, and leave my kid with nothing. It's like, and then work with a band and nothing. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it would make sense. I would probably make the same decision, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to family and kids, I mean, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, it is what it is. But, in that same music store, that's where I met, Scott Ian from Anthrax. We were
right
really,
on.
Really, really good friends. I was the one who was told Scott, I said, that's when Greg Walls, because we used to play in a music building in Jamaica, Queens. My band was on the 4th floor, Anthrax was on the 5th floor, and then when Metallica came to New York, if you watch the VH1 documentary on Metallica, it talks about this building that they used to play at. That's the building where we all were.
Oh, nice.
So they were on the 6th floor. So this is when Anthrax had Neil Turbin, had Greg D'Angelo was playing, Danny Loca was playing, and also, did I say Greg Walls, the other guitar player?
Yeah.
And he was in the band, and Scott and I became friends and everything, and they used to come in all the time and everything like that. And when I don't know if they got rid of Greg or they were just, whatever, they parted ways.
Yeah.
And I said to him, and I met Danny Spitz. He used to come in and order these custom ESP guitars at the store I worked at.
Okay.
And I said to Scott, you need to talk to this guy. You two guys need to get together and to talk. I said, he'd be perfect for the band.
Right on.
And that was it,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's funny because another band that Mark is a big fan of and stuff too is that I met, that I became really good friends with, is Raven. With John and Mark Gallagher and stuff like that. I mean, I've known those guys for years, and they're sweethearts, and I love the fact that they're out there still kicking ass. I'm so proud of those guys.
Hell yeah, that's so cool to hear. And Mark actually, a little bit back here, he ask him about the gig in the Marquee in London, UK. That is so funny. He's like, and then he goes, good. It's good that I'm your agent now, Jose. Just kidding. Yeah, hell yeah.
Man, because, I kind of talked about it when I was doing the other interview.
Yeah.
And, well, anyway, at the time, this is pre-Agents, this band, I had met this drummer when I went to Florida with my wife at the time. Her friends lived down there, and I met this drummer down there, and he was telling me he was playing with this band and blah, 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 and everything like that. So they called me up and they said, hey, look, we're going to go to the UK, and we're going to do this tour of the UK. So I was like, okay. And they said, we want you to fly down to Gainesville, and we're going to practice at the guitar player's house. And, then we got 2 gigs that are already booked. We're going to play the Marquee, and we're going to play this other place called Dingwalls. And I'm like, okay, great, whatever, that's great. So I go down there, play with these guys, and the drummer was great. I love him, and God rest his soul. His name was Michael Duncan. He, anyway, the guitar player and the singer weren't all that bright, and I mean, and I'm trying to be very diplomatic right now, and it was amazing because the singer was actually from Brooklyn, but he wasn't bright. So anyway, we go to the airport, and we're at JFK, and one of the things that a good friend of mine who I met on the street, his name was Ronnie Drayton. Ronnie Drayton played with Patti LaBelle and Nona Hendrix. He was into, that whole funk, whatever you want to call it, that music and stuff. And he was a great guitar player.
The funky era.
And he said to me, he gave me a great advice. He says, before you get on that plane, do not get on unless they give you a return ticket. And I went, what? And he goes, don't get on the plane until you do that. And then he told me that he did a gig with Wilson Pickett in Africa, and Wilson Pickett took all their passports, had all their passports, all their tickets, and took all the money and left them stranded there.
Oh my goodness!
So I was like, oh man! So I got the ticket after fighting with the guitar player. It was last call to get on the plane. So we get on, and the guitar player had told me all along that he had this money to finance us and be able to, take care of us while we're there. I don't remember what the amount was, maybe $20,000.
Holy
So we're
shit.
on the plane, and I'm sitting on the plane with the drummer, and we're getting drunk, and I'm like so happy. I'm going, oh, this is it. So the guitar player comes over. You know, we had like a 9 o'clock flight, so you know we were a couple of hours in the air, and everybody's sleeping on the plane.
Yeah.
And he comes over and he says, y'all, I got to talk to y'all. And I'm like, well, what's up? And he goes, I only got $500 with me. And I freaked out. We got into a fist fight. We got into a fist fight on the plane.
Holy shit.
You know, I was losing it. I just, you know, because one of the jobs that I was working at, I just quit the job.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, we made a deal that he was going to give us some money every day and whatever. So we go to the first re-rehearsal to get ready for the show.
Okay.
And we walk in, and the guitar player and the singer look at each other. They forgot all the songs.
Oh my goodness.
But here's the weird thing. They wrote them.
Like, that's kind of crazy.
And I was like, so I'm sitting there reteaching these guys their own songs. And I'm like, what the hell? I said, are you guys, what's wrong with you? So anyway, we go to the marquee. We're all excited. I'm like just out of my mind excited.
Yeah.
Right? So we go there, and we're opening up for Bernie Torme, who was the guitar player that was, I think he replaced Randy for a little bit after Oz in the Ozzy thing.
Yeah.
And Phil Lewis from LA Guns was singing.
Holy shit.
So we were opening for them.
Nice.
And so we're there and everything like that. And I'm looking at the stage. And of course, there's only probably about 1.5 feet or like 2 feet of space in front of their setup. They would let us use the amps, but the drums roll. You know, it was their show. It's their show, you know. So the singer is complaining, like just out of his mind. Oh, I can't believe this, man. We came all the way from the United States, you know, and we're opening for these bands, and these guys won't even give us enough space on stage and everything like that. I said, so me, being a mischievous at the time, I said, they were in their dressing room. So I go, the guy's name was Frank. I said, Frank, well, go in there and tell them, man. Go complain. Just go tell them to move their stuff back. I said, they'll probably listen to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And everything. He goes, you think so? And I said, sure. You know? So he goes back there, and I hear the conversation. This is how it went. Hi, guys. How you doing? Oh, hello, me. Are you the band that's supporting us and everything, blah, blah, blah? And they're like, yeah. And he says, hey, listen, you know, we came all the way from America and we're opening up for you, and you left us like no room in the stage. Can't you guys just move the stuff back? You know?
Holy.
And all of a sudden I hear, wait, this is internet radio. I can say anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hear, fuck off, mate. And I hear all of these bottles and glasses flying. And I hear bang, bang, smash, right?
Oh my
and I'm
goodness.
like, what the hell? So here comes the singer walking out of the room, and he's completely drenched in beer. And he goes, I can't believe what they did. He says, they threw beers and stuff at me in the, you know, mugs of all the stuff at me and stuff. They told me to get the fuck out. And I went, no kidding, you dumbass. It's their show. I said, we open for them. It's not the other way around. And he goes, did you know this already and stuff? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, why didn't you tell me? I said, because you're a dumbass. I said, you should have known this from the very beginning. But this is the same guy that was an idiot when we were walking around in the streets of London, who went up to a guy that had this giant mohawk and started asking him questions about it. Like, how did he get his hair like that? And blah,
Oh, my
blah, blah.
God.
And so this punk kid looks at him and goes, fuck off, and spits at him.
Oh, my God.
I'm like,
what an idiot. Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Yeah,
you know?
some people, eh?
But anyway, that was the whole thing. But after we did the next gig, I just went back home. I was like, I'm done.
I'm out of here for a while, guys.
I'm out of here. You guys are dopes.
You guys are dopes. Oh, what's Mark saying over here? He's like, yes, he was in Gillen. Also, Bernie Torme.
Bernie Torme.
And Phil Lewis.
Yes,
was
He
in
was
a band.
Yes, Bernie
yeah.
Torme did play in Ian Gillan's
Okay.
band from Deep Purple. Yeah, so he was in that band also.
Right on.
But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of stories of interactions with bands and stuff like that I've had. But boy, I'll tell you, that'll take us a whole other hour. You know.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is not going to be our only interview because we definitely will be talking again for sure.
Not a problem. Anytime.
Hopefully it won't take 3 years to get it all hooked up this time.
No. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we will. I was getting worried, actually. I was like, I'm going to call you in 20 minutes. And you're like, been on air, online like an hour ago, it said. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Maybe I messed up
What
the
I was
time
doing
zone
is
again.
I've left my phone on.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And what the issue has been happening sometimes is when I get some people calling me, it just goes straight to voicemail.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why that happened. And that's what happened with the gentleman. His name is Roland in the Netherlands was calling me. I did the interview with him on Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't remember. And it kept going to voicemail, so I had to wait for it to see it would come up on my iPhone and then click it really quick.
Yeah,
you know, so
I've had a few that went like that. It was freaking me out.
I was kind of worried about it because I was like, oh man, I don't want it to do that. But Mark called me on Messenger and said, Vicky's trying to get in touch with you. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. So, I don't know. Anyway. I messaged you that. I waited a bit and I'm like, uh-oh, it's getting close to the time. And I'm like, I sure hope it works out. I hope that we understood each other on the time zone thing.
It will be it was totally fine.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go and message Mark and just tell him that I'm waiting to hear from you. And he's like, okay, I'll take care of that. I was like, oh, you're such a gem. Thank you so much. But anyways, like I said, you know, we're going to be talking more later on in other interviews, so save some of those awesome stories for then.
Oh, believe me,
I just want to recap with you, you know, where everybody could find you and your music and you in general. So, like I said, you got the Bandcamp, and where else?
I'm on Facebook, of course, and Instagram. Instagram is Jose Ferro Bass. Anybody could find me on there.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 Facebook pages. One is a personal page, which is Jose Ferro, and then another one that I have, which is Jose Ferro Basses, which is like more where people can follow me and things like that. Also have a Screaming Lords, you know, Facebook and Instagram page. You can do that. I'm also on, you know, X now, so I'm on there too. So,
me too.
But and I have a YouTube channel,
right on.
So you can check out. And I am going to be posting up the videos from that Screaming Lords Sweet Garage show. I'm going to be putting that up there pretty soon.
Nice.
So
right
just want to get this new computer set up first. And
heck yeah, you got a new toy to play around with.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was excited to come home today to be able to play with my own toys down here in the Lady Cave. I missed it.
The Lady Cave, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's my Lady Cave.
No, I heard a new one. I heard another one.
Yeah?
The She
Shed? Yeah, the She Shack and the She Shed.
The She Shed.
Yeah.
She Shack and She Shed.
Yeah, man.
There you go.
Yeah, we got them too. The men don't just have them. Mark is being awesome and putting links to your pages and stuff up in the chat room here. So if anybody comes in here, they could check it out.
This guy, he's so nice.
Oh yeah, he's putting up Bandcamp links and links in general. He's all over it. He's right on it. You should hire him.
I know, I try to, but I just keep saying, what do you want? You know?
He will not accept pay.
Well, once I get settled in to, you know, when we do the move and everything like that, I'm planning to go to Europe. You know, like I said, I do want to see my relatives in Germany.
Nice.
I do want to make a trip out to see Richard in England. And I'm going to make it a point to go, to go see Mark. Because, you know, I owe him too much, and it's like, you know what?
Right on.
I really, because, you know, it's interesting.
He's a good friend.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
It's so rare that you would meet somebody online is so giving that you never met face to face. You know, in this world that we live in, you know, you never know who you're talking to.
That's right.
You know, and I got to tell you, I've met so many people in this industry that talk so much bullshit.
Oh yeah.
That I just gotta go. dude, do you really believe what the hell you're saying?
I
Are you
think
serious?
I worry about the people on the internet that I cross paths with on the daily. I gotta keep that stuff. I gotta detox my mind from that shit. I can't even keep up with it. I hear you.
Yeah, it's
too
strange.
much.
But you come across people that are really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, when Mark was first helping me, I was like a little leery.
Yeah, he always sends me so much goodies in my mail. I get excited. He's sending me awesome shirts and awesome music and cool things. He doesn't have to do that, but he's so awesome and he does it. He knows that I'll appreciate it like crazy. So, hell yeah. He's awesome like that. He loves supporting the bands. He loves doing what he does for sure. Yeah, he's saying...
He sure does.
He goes, yeah, gigs in Europe. Also in honor of Gwen that I do all this stuff for Jose as well. So, big hugs to him. Yeah.
I feel for him. You know what I'm saying? My heart goes out to him.
Yes.
Because the few times that I did speak with her, she was a sweetheart.
Exactly.
And it's tough.
Yeah,
when
man.
you lose a loved one and stuff like that.
It really is, and
it really is.
it's not about me or anything, but I lost a daughter when I gave birth to her almost 13 years ago, and I understand the devastation.
I understand that, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you so much.
It's but just real quickly, Crash and Burn is about somebody who I knew. It was actually two guys that I knew that had battled with their inner self and some addictions.
Exactly. I think we all have.
I would always say to them, like the lyrics were really to them, like, dude, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you're wrestling with the devil, and you're gonna lose, man. You're gonna lose if you don't straighten out.
That's right. Yeah.
You're gonna crash and burn, and unfortunately, both of them died.
I'm very sorry to hear that. I deal with somewhat of the same kind of battle with one of my older children, one of my sons. I only have 2 sons out of my 9 kids, and my son, he's like,
God bless you.
Thank you. He's it's been right on. The 5 are already adults, and I got 3 at home still. But anyways, my son, he deals with that, the depression, the drugs, the anxieties, the mental health problems and things like that, and it is a devastating thing. And I'm so sorry to hear about that. But it's amazing.
All we got to do is keep him in our prayers.
And it's amazing, exactly. And it's amazing that you made a song, about for them.
Yep, that's my tribute to them.
Right on.
Pretty much.
I love that song, by the way. I was going to ask you about it, and look at that, it came up on its own.
Yep. There you go. Segue.
Yeah. It was meant to be that way. I love it, and I cannot wait to hear more. And I gotta check out all things you still. I've only tickled my feet into a little bit of your stuff, but I gotta get some more time to listen to more. But
not a problem.
With all that being said, I really appreciate your time tonight. I look forward to having another interview with you whenever you want down the line. You got something to talk about, or you want to talk about, just shoot me a message and we'll hook it up. But
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Vicky. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Anytime. And I was so looking forward to this, and I'm glad it actually worked out. Another thing that I wanted to ask you is if you can make me a badass station tag.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. I usually give like a prompt of, you could say something like, this is so-and-so and you're listening to Lady Red's Bath of Blood on Metal Devastation Radio.
Let me write this down so I could
get your pen. Get your pen.
Do you want me to make it and then send it to you? Would you like that?
Yeah, you could do a quick one for on here. But
you want me to do it right now?
Yeah, just a small one.
Sure.
Sure, thank you.
It's the... Tell me the name of the show again. I should have did my homework.
Bath of Blood on Metal Devastation Radio.
Right, Metal Devastation.
Mark says, thank you, Vicky and Jose, for the great interview. Thank you too, Mark.
That would be, that sure. I'd be more than honored to do that.
Heck yeah, thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, this is Jose from the Screaming Lords, and you're listening to Lady Red of Bath and Blood on Metal Devastation Radio.
Heck yeah, you're awesome. Yeah, do a pro one up for me anytime you feel, and just
Sure.
shoot it over to my email.
I'll do something with some music in the background.
Oh,
too.
I love it.
Take
I
one of
love
the
it.
songs.
Hell yeah. I love
You
it.
know?
Again, thank you so much. I hope you have
Vicky, thank you. I'm so glad we finally got together.
Yeah, me too. Me too, man. Anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime.
You take care and you have a great evening and stuff.
Heck yeah. You too, and I'm gonna play for the people some Crash and Burn right now. And after that, I'm gonna throw some moon rock in there with Damn Dark Night. But
there you go.
You take care. We'll talk again soon, and all that good stuff.
All right, Vicky. Have a good evening.
You too. Take care, Jose.
Bye now.
Bye. There you guys have it. We're gonna check out some Crash and Burn right now. Thank you all for listening to Lady Red's Bath of Blood here on Metal Devastation Radio.
Coming down the line like a freight train in a hurricane. Light in your eyes, you only see what you wanna see. Monsters are born on the deeds they've done. Sun inside, winds fall no one. Hell is empty and the devil is near. Wolves at the door and the demons are here. Wrestle the devil on your path to destruction. When will you learn? You're gonna crash and burn. Hold a breath coming with your words of fire. Speak in your mind, you never say what you really mean. Monsters are born on the deeds they've done. Sun and tide, leaves fall and no. Hell is empty and the devil is here. Wolves at the door and the demons are here. Wrestle the devil on your path to destruction. When will you learn? You're gonna crash and burn. At the door and the demons are here. Wrestle the devil on your path to destruction. When will you learn? You're gonna crash and burn. You're gonna crash and burn.